There's another story coming right up, and you can always learn more about Theodore Tugboat on the internet. Find us through PBS Online.
Pushing and a pulling in the great big harbor, in the great big world is so much fun. So many brand new things to discover. Waking with the sun, gotta get the job done. Oh, Theodore and Emily, Voda, Hank and George, and the harbor master too.
That dock there, and you tugboats, you float in a straight line, and hello. Today is official harbor inspection day. Today, I officially inspect the official harbor. Oh, it's very serious. I'm in charge of everything. I should call Rodney down at the shipyard. Tell him that I'm on my way. Hello, Rodney? Yes. Look here, Rodney. This is the harbor master. I'm on my way down. Everything better be shipshape. How about that? He hung up on me. What did I do? You think maybe I was a little bossy with Rodney? I know what Theodore would say. See, he had a pretty bossy time with some bellbuoys not too long ago. Theodore had just finished moving Barrington barge. Now, whenever he was finished work, there was nothing Theodore loved better than to visit his good friend, Bedford Buoy. As soon as the little bellbuoy saw Theodore, he began to ding his bell excitedly. Theodore! Theodore! He shouted. I was hoping you'd come visit me today. Hi, Bedford, called Theodore. Knock, knock. Right away, Bedford said, Who's there? Theodore and Bedford just loved telling knock-knock jokes. Philip, said Theodore. Philip who? Asked Bedford. Fill up your tank before you go to work, laughed Theodore. Knock, knock. Now it was Bedford's turn. Who's there? Asked Theodore. Fillmore. Fillmore who? Fill more than you need and you'll get a sore tank, hooted Bedford. Well, those two laughed so hard that Theodore's whistle hurt. Bedford's bell almost fell overboard. Theodore, it was Emily. The dispatcher's looking for you. I'd better go, Bedford, called Theodore. We'll tell more knock-knock jokes tomorrow. I'll be right here waiting, Theodore, called Bedford. Ah, Theodore, said the dispatcher. You have been doing very good work lately, moving barges. Well, thank you, smiled Theodore. And now, the dispatcher continued, I would like you to be in charge of all the bell buoys in the harbor. Bell buoys? Repeated Theodore. Yes, Theodore. I would like you to inspect them the first thing every morning. Well, Theodore couldn't believe it. From barges to bell buoys, just like that. Do you have any questions, Theodore? Asked the dispatcher. Do I get a special whistle? No, the dispatcher said with a smile on his voice. But it does mean that you're in charge. Oh, you can count on me, sir, said Theodore in his most serious voice. The next morning before work, Theodore and Emily went to get their oil for the day from the fuel dock. Guess what I am, said Theodore. Let me see, grinned Emily. A tugboat? I'm the tug in charge of bell buoys, said Theodore proudly. Oh, that's exciting, said Emily right away. Oh, it's triple exciting. I mean, it's a very serious job. Well, said Emily, would you like to get your oil first? Oh, you go ahead, Emily. No, please, after you, Theodore, said Emily. Thanks, said Theodore. He did want to start his new job. But just then, George rumbled right up between Theodore and Emily, vrooming his engine and blasting up smoke. Let me through, he boomed. Right away. Lots to do today. You see, George is in charge of the fuel dock. Well, Theodore and Emily just had to smile. George was being his usual big bossy self. A little later, Theodore set off on his first bellbuoy inspection tour. He was swaying a little back and forth, the way he did when he was especially happy. I get to go to the edge of the harbor every day, Theodore thought to himself as he floated along. This is really exciting. I mean, serious. The first stop was Blandford. Blandford Buoy lives out where the big harbor ends and the wide open ocean begins. Well, if it isn't Theodore Tugboat, called Blandford. And what brings you out here? I'm the new tug in charge of bell buoys, said Theodore. From now on, I'll be checking you every day. Well, isn't that just the catfish's whiskers, replied Blandford. Foduck only used to come out here on Fridays. Well, I'm in charge now, said Theodore. And I'm going to check you every day. See you tomorrow, Blandford. Oh, by the way, could you float a little straighter? Yeah, I'll try, Theodore, replied Blandford. As soon as Bedford saw Theodore, he began to ding his bell excitedly. Knock, knock, he shouted right away. But Theodore just floated around Bedford. Bedford, could you please stop turning? I'm trying to make sure that you're shipshape. Oh, I'm shipshape, Theodore, said Bedford. Yes, but my job is to make sure, said Theodore. Well, what about knock-knock jokes, Theodore, said Bedford. This is my new job, explained Theodore. I'm in charge of bell buoys. I don't have time for knock-knock jokes anymore. No knock-knock jokes? Said Bedford sadly. Bedford, I would like you to shine your light all the time, ordered Theodore. Now, I'll be back tomorrow. And then he was gone. I'll be right here waiting, called Bedford. The next morning, as usual, Emily went to get her oil for the day. Just then, Theodore rumbled right past, vrooming his engine just like George. Gotta get to those bell buoys right away. Well, Emily was very surprised. Theodore always asked her if she wanted to get her oil first. Then something even more surprising happened. George rumbled up. Let me through, he boomed. Wait till I'm finished, Theodore boomed right back. George was so surprised, he didn't even say anything. No one ever ordered him around. Theodore is acting very strangely, whispered Emily. Blandford, I told you to float straight, called Theodore, beginning his bellbuoy inspection again. Hey, I'm trying, replied Blandford. Theodore hurried off. I mean, he had so many important things to do. All that morning, Theodore vroomed and boomed and blasted around, being in charge. Bedford started to ding his bell when he saw Theodore, but right away, Theodore said, Bedford, I told you to shine your light all the time. Well, none of the other bellboys have to, replied Bedford. It seemed to Theodore that there was only one way to get everyone to do what he wanted them to do. Bedford, do it right away, he said, sounding almost like George. That's an order. That same afternoon, Theodore, Emily, and George were waiting to bring in a ship who was just arriving in the harbor. You're late, George called to the ship. I almost couldn't find the harbor today, explained the big cargo ship, whose name was Caracat.
Well, why not?
Asked Emily.
Well, there's usually a bellboy named Blandford outside the harbor,
Replied Caracat.
but today he was floating so crooked I could hardly see him. I told Blandford to float straight,
Said Theodore. The tugs began to move the ship through the harbor.
and I told Bedford to shine his light all the time.
Said Theodore.
What's the matter with the bellboys? They're not doing a thing I told them to do. I bet I know why,
Said Emily quietly.
Why?
Called Theodore.
You're starting to sound like George.
Replied Emily.
George?
Repeated Theodore.
Well, you know how you feel when George bosses you around sometimes.
Said Emily.
Theodore, stay steady.
Boomed George. Well, now Theodore knew what Emily meant. She meant that he was being bossy. And suddenly he knew something else. He knew she was right. And there was only one thing to do about it. As soon as Theodore had finished bringing in the ship, he rushed over to see Bedford. But Bedford didn't ding his bell the way he always did when he saw Theodore. Bedford thought Theodore was going to boss him around again. Theodore knew he'd been bossy with his good friend Bedford, and there was only one thing to say.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
Replied Bedford, sounding very surprised.
Owen.
Said Theodore.
Owen who? Owen, you be my friend again?
Asked Theodore. Bedford dinged his bell excitedly.
Bedford, I'm sorry I've been so bossy. Oh, that's okay.
Said Bedford. He was very relieved.
Bedford,
Said Theodore after a moment.
maybe you can think of a way that ships can see you better. Oh, sure I can.
Said Bedford.
Maybe I can shine my light on faster and faster. How's that?
Oh, yes. Ships will be able to see you much better now, said Theodore.
Thanks, Bedford.
Oh, you're welcome, Theodore, said Bedford.
Bedford, oh, what about being friends? Knock, knock.
Said Bedford.
Who's there? Boat. Boat who? But of course I'll be your friend.
Yes, Theodore and Bedford just love telling those knock-knock jokes. You know, I think I was a little bossy with my friend Rodney on the phone just now. And I think I know what to do. Hello, Rodney? Yeah, it's me. Knock, knock. Tug. Together, we can really get the harbor shipshape. Wonderful. Oh, yeah, see you soon. Ah, good, okay. Well, thanks for visiting us here in the big harbor. We'll see you all again next time. Right now, it's time for my official harbor inspection tour.
Theodore, he's a tugboat and a friendly tugboat too. A friendly tugboat too. Oh, Theodore and Emily, Bodak, Hank and George and the harbor master too.